If you have ever played Halo Reach, you have probably used a gravity lift at some point. And you've probably been punished for it.
First strike. Gain the lead.
The predetermined path and predictable landing spots make you an easy target. But what if I told you there are ways to break the lift, change your landing location, and outplay opponents with unpredictable movement? Today, we will learn about lift manipulation. There are two main types of manipulation: glitch manips and standard manips. Let's focus on the glitch version first. This trick is actually extremely easy. You see, in order to do this trick, all you need to do is enter a lift, crouch repeatedly, and hold a directional input. However, there is a catch. Every time you spawn into the game, or respawn, there is a chance that you will spawn with the ability to manipulate the lift. This means that if you spawn in at the beginning of the match and try this trick, it might not work. But if you die to an enemy and then respawn, there is now a chance that you will have lift manipulation. The ability will last until you die again, at which point the dice are rolled and your next respawn may or may not grant you the powers. Some things to note from our testing are that suicides do not seem to grant this ability, only deaths to enemies. And it truly does seem to be a random chance, as replicating deaths that previously granted you the glitch will not always do so. This trick does not seem to work on host and appears to happen more often in matchmaking lobbies, which leads me to believe it has something to do with a weird quirk in the networking or connection of the match. While there are some lifts that cannot be manipulated, let's take a look at some interesting ways that this can be used in multiplayer. On Zealot, you can use this to jump from ring 1 to ring 2 instead of flying all the way to the typical landing. As a bonus trick, you can actually drop down to ring 1 from ring 2 by squeezing into this tiny gap at the back of the lift. If you are approaching from the front side, you can jump into it like this. This is one of my favorite tricks, and it works on both sides. If you combine both of these tricks, you can be very annoying and hard to kill in this area. On reflection, you can manipulate the big lift to land in this sneaky spot. On the small lifts, you can launch straight up to ninja someone trying to chase you, or to catch campers off guard, as they will be expecting you to land directly in front of them. Same thing with this lift on Penance, and these ones on Battle Canyon. On maps like Pinnacle or Enclosed, you can use this tech to shorten your path and land on lower platforms instead of launching through the open air with no cover. On Solitary, you can use this trick to get stuck at the bottom of the lift. Entering these lifts on Spire and manipulating them immediately will cause you to go straight up like a super high jump. You can use this for a trick shot or to ninja someone who tried to follow you up the lift. Alternatively, you could cancel your ascent by manipulating the lift anywhere along your path. Now, let's talk about standard manipulations. These are manips that do not rely on random chance respawns, but instead can be done consistently with proper movement. For example, on Zealot, there is a strat known by many players called the short lift. However, most of them do not know how to replicate it and instead chalk it up as something that just happens sometimes. This trick works much better on blue side than red side, although the red side can achieve a similar but much weaker effect. Here's how to do it. You need to enter the lift either by sprinting or walking. However, sprinting will make it easier. The next step is to jump right before you enter the lift. At this point, stop sprinting, spam crouch, and hold a backwards movement input. Another cool thing that you can do with this lift is sling yourself up and backwards by banking off of the doorway frame of the lift. This works because the gravity lift hitbox extends just far enough to be activated from the outside. Once again, however, this trick only works on blue side. Down here, by the triple lift on countdown, the central one takes you up and deposits you right here. But by using a similar technique as the Zealot short lift, we can clip our feet on the lip of the tube and jump all the way out to the balcony, avoiding nade traps or catching an enemy off guard. Another cool thing you can do on this same lift is walk into and hide inside the tube. This also works on the other two lifts here. However, it is more difficult. On reflection, if you position yourself in this corner and then aim between these two wooden slats, you can walk straight forward and barely clip the corner of the lift, which gives you just enough height to air strafe onto this ledge. Similar tricks can be done on sword base by entering the lift off center or with different speeds and heights. We can use this lift to land in a ton of places. Gravity lifts are strongest at the bottom. This means if you jump into a lift and enter it at a higher point than usual, less force will be applied to you. On this BTB map called Asphalt, we have a unique one. We can float against the ceiling by clipping the edge of the lift and smacking our head on the ceiling. A one-way shield pulls us against the ceiling and holds us here. Before I conclude, I would like to mention a few other niche interactions that we can do with gravity lifts. The first thing is what I call audio manipulation, and there are two kinds. The first is that we can throw weapons or objects into the gravity lift to activate the sound cue, which can trick opponents to react and make a misplay. Another piece of knowledge is called silent lifting. If you enter a gravity lift shortly after another player does, you will not make a sound cue as you enter. Melee manipulation is when you melee an enemy as you are traveling through a lift. This will slow your speed and can cause you to get stuck or fall out of the normal path. On sword base, you can use the central gravity lift to slow your descent and negate fall damage when falling from high places. This is probably the only map where this can really be used effectively. Finally, you can sprint into a lot of lifts in order to get a line of sight. Usually it's better to wait for the enemy to come up, but if you were trying to continue a multi-kill or something, this could definitely be the right play. Thanks for watching. If you learned something new, drop a like and subscribe for more Halo Reach knowledge. Peace.